Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of 15 Minutes With. Some of you might be asking, what is 15 Minutes With? What is its purpose? What are its goals? 15 Minutes With is a show about jail and prison. 15 Minutes With doesn't glorify jail or prison. In fact, the purpose of 15 Minutes With is to deter not only young people, but people of all ages from going to or winding up in jails or even prison. Do you know that here in America, the home of the free, there are over 2.3 million people incarcerated. Over 1/3 of incarcerated women worldwide are in fact locked up right here in the United States. Over 13 million people are arrested each year. That is more than the population of Los Angeles and New York City combined. It's a lot of people. From what I just said, you're probably thinking that 15 Minutes With is an anti-police or anti-justice show. If that is what you're thinking, you couldn't be further from the truth. The police risk their lives out there, helping others with just pretty much handcuffs, pepper spray, a gun, and their wits or their street smarts every day. There are so many laws, some antiquated on the books, that an average person commits 3 felonies a day, and our courts are showing it. So are our jails and prisons with an overload. 15 Minutes With takes you both behind the walls and the razor wire and out on the streets to talk to inmates who are currently incarcerated and some who have been released from confinement and are living out here in the free world. It is our hope that once you hear their true stories about what the system in jails and prisons are like, as well as the horrendous and outright dangerous conditions on the inside, that those of you who may have be headed down that long and lonely road that leads right to the inside may have second thoughts and think twice before winding up inside those walls and having to live in those conditions. It's our hope you choose the life out here in the free world. Now, here is this episode of 15 Minutes With.
You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Drew Peterson.
an inmate at a federal prison. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring. Hang up to decline the call or to accept. Dial 5 now. If you wish to...
Hey, Drew.
Hey, Joe, what's up?
I actually was looking at the clock when you had hung up from me. I was like, he's not going to be able to call me in an hour. I says, he's got count. So I knew you had count. I remember you telling me you had count at 10 o'clock. So, but...
You got to wait time, and then they called in a lockdown. So it was like, yeah, so that shit happens. So, so you're not ready for me or what?
No, I'm good. I got the pad in front of me and everything. So, no, but that's what I was saying. I knew that you weren't gonna call me then. So, but I had everything set up to go. We already covered, the facility. It's up to you as to what you tell me. I don't need to get into details as far as what, but what are you actually sentenced for?
Well, I'm in a federal prison. I'm being housed here. Was a state prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
State is housing me, and basically I got 2 crimes that I was sentenced for. One was for a homicide on my third wife. 38 years for that. And then the second one I was charged with was solicitation for homicide for hire, and I got 40 years for that.
Okay, so that's what the actual charges are. Yeah, I wasn't sure what the actual charges were. I had an idea, but I wasn't sure what they actually were. So
well, the charges I'm in here because of the incompetence of my attorneys. One was incompetent, and one was deliberately threw me under the bus.
Yeah, that's what we if you remember when you and I had talked in the very beginning, we were talking about how the system's set up, and it's not set up. A lot of people believe that the system is set up to be fair, and it's really not. So, people just don't get that, and that's the other thing too. I mean, I actually took, a legal studies class at one of the universities, and 95% of cases in the United States. It's not a, people will say, if they pled guilty, if a person pled guilty, they were probably guilty, and they don't realize that 95% of the cases aren't solved by trial. They're solved by plea bargain. It's like, and on top of it, you've been through the system, you're fully aware, they come at you with a whole slew of charges, hoping that you'll plead guilty to one.
Let's say they're telling you you're looking at 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, okay, we'll just give you 10 years if you plead to this. So what are you going to do? Risk 100 years? Or a new person?
Exactly. Right, exactly.
You're scared to death. I'll just suffer the 10 years. And they may not even be guilty.
Right. Well, that's the thing, too. I had talked to somebody, like several weeks ago, and we were talking about a case. I can't remember what the case was, but they were like, "Do you think this guy is guilty?" And I was like, to be honest, he probably isn't, but he was probably given a choice to take a plea bargain or gamble it. And I've seen people, get sentenced. You see people getting released on DNA stuff all the time now.
Right.
So
call is from a federal prison.
If you plead guilty, you have no appeal.
Well, is that with the guilty plea? Is that the same on the state? I know federal, you have to sign, I guess, like a contract or something, and you give up your appeal. Is that it's the same on the state side as well?
I don't think you sign a contract, but I think as far as any appeal goes, you pled guilty, and they'll tell you if you say, "Well, this happened." Well, you pled guilty, so you're out of luck, pretty much. I gotcha.
Yeah,
and they'd rather get a guilty plea and a conviction rather than just, they don't want to go to trial. It's too expensive.
Right, exactly. And then on top of it too, what I noticed is the on the federal government side, they you got a state which has if a state's going after you, the state's got more money than a person does. If the feds are going after you, they got all the money in the world. You as an individual have a limited amount of resources, so you're better off.
Yes. Everything you worked for your entire life can be exhausted in a matter of weeks by a lawyer and a costly trial. Lawyers are your worst enemy sometimes. Before you walk in the door, they're looking at you and say, "Okay, we want $10,000 up front, and then win or lose, you pay $10,000 for this shit. Then if you drop them because you're unhappy, trying to get a refund from a lawyer ain't going to happen."
Right. No, I kind of figured. I figured they would say something about it being eaten up in cost and all that. I've actually had like not a personal injury case. I had something happen to me at work, and I turned around afterwards thinking I was going to get taken care of. The lawyer made more than I did. So and it's crazy.
And the thing is, like I said, trying to get a refund from these people, forget it. I paid $8,000 for a will. The guy do probate for me, and he didn't do shit for me, and he kept $8,000, and ended up costing me more because I actually had to hire lawyers to get rid of my lawyer.
That's crazy.
That makes sense. So it's just like you're paying twice and trying to get money from them. They can justify on paper or anything. They did. Well, I made phone calls and I did this and I had to do all this research. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, why am I even talking to you? So lawyers can fuck you up.
Yeah, no, I kind of figured that, and then I know that I've talked to other people, that have been through the system, and I'd say maybe 80% or more have been like the lawyers come to them and are like, "I think we should take the deal." And it was kind of funny because one of the kids came out and asked if we were doing the time, and I was like, that was unoriginal. I never heard that before,
Right.
So, but
the funniest thing I ever seen, this guy was in court and he got a public defender, and the guy all of a sudden stands up and yelling at his lawyer, goes, "No, I want you to do your job. I ain't taking no fucking deal. I ain't doing this." And this is the middle of court. He's yelling at this guy. And while we're all sitting waiting for these preliminary little meetings and stuff, and this lawyer just fell into a shell, and everybody started clapping. "Do your job, lawyer, I don't care if you're a public defender. I have a legal right to have you, and do your job." So.
Well, that's the thing, too. They'll point out that a public defender is overburdened with cases. Well, then maybe you need to get these public defenders some more public defenders. I mean, somebody talked to me about that, too.
I got budgets and issues, so it's like it's not going to happen. So,
well,
I was like, they had lawyers pro bono.
Right. I mean, the other thing is...
Federal prison.
The other thing is, too, that we were talking about is, as far as the system goes, I mean, it's stacked against you. You have, if you have a public defender or you even have a private attorney, that private attorney has to hire investigators, has to hire, experts. Meanwhile, you have the prosecution has an entire police department at their disposal, and they... you're not. I'm not going to say you're not going to win, but the chances of winning are not that great because.
Well, they have unlimited resources where you don't.
Right. Exactly.
You got them. Anyway, so what else?
Okay, so we got you on the. Okay, so I have your your actual charges now. So and then so on a day-to-day basis, the thing I want to point out to these to these guys are. You don't have your freedom. You're told, when to get up, when to go to sleep, when you're going to go eat. So I mean, we're in agreement as far as that goes, right? You basically have no freedom. You're not in control.
When I was in the state, I felt like a pound puppy. I was constantly in the cell, and I was being warehoused. Here in the federal prison, it's just like where I'm at. I feel like I'm part of a community.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets up and goes to work. Everybody gets up and does this, or you clean your house, or you got friends, or you go out to the yard and exercise. But you're still exercising inside of a barbed wire fence. Right.
So you're free, but you're not free. You can't do whatever when you want to. It's basically controlled. No. So and if you were gonna, we talked earlier about somebody coming into the system, minding their own business, not borrowing, not gambling, not doing drugs. So other than that, what is your advice to somebody who, well, first off, what's your advice to somebody who's going down the wrong road? I mean, would you tell them it's not worth it? Would you tell them, not to do it, or
I'd say everybody says crime doesn't pay, but sometimes it pays. But more than likely, you're going to get caught.
Right. So
you're going to pay the consequences for it, and then when you're done, you wish you had. So your thing is really thinking through if you're going to go down the wrong road.
Right.
I was living down the right road, and I still got caught.
Well, that's what we were talking about too. It could flip over in a matter of seconds. 1 minute everything can be great, and then you have a great life, and then the next thing you know, you're in prison.
I'm doing something that I didn't do.
That was the other thing too. I mean, I had read up a little bit on your case in the beginning, and I believe it was one of the investigating officers actually said there was no way that this could have happened, the way the state was portraying it. And I guess, I don't know if the guy knew you or what, but he was like, there's no way that, Drew did this, So, but then we fall back into the same thing where they have unlimited resources and you don't.
Right.
So what is your,
My biggest problem is you always run into the fact that people can lie.
Mm-hmm.
These can lie. If they're so obsessed with getting you, they'll lie.
Well, that's what we were talking about too in one of the earlier times when I talked to you. They can't. Well, I mean, they can legally lie to you as well. I mean, there's a certain amount of deception that they can use to make you believe they have evidence that they don't. But they can also lie on the stand and they're protected. I believe they have some kind of a immunity. There was a state's attorney that actually had evidence that proved that the individual was innocent, and
right.
The state's attorney couldn't get charged with anything because he had
they call it executive immunity.
Yeah, so they have immunity. So it's crazy, and that's what we were talking about before. So And then also, if somebody did wind up coming into prison, what would your advice be to them? Like, if you saw somebody coming in there, fresh off the street, they'd never done any, time before, and they came in there, what would your advice be to them, as far as for them getting in and getting out in one piece?
Well, the thing is, just mind your own business, and people are still going to bother you. You got to stand your ground with it. I just got out of the shoot not too long ago, and it's the special housing unit. And I was in there with a transgender, very gay, and wanted to constantly try to do oral sex on me.
Really?
Megan. And I finally looked at him and I said, this guy was 6'5". I'm sure of a guy. And finally I looked at him and I said, it's really nothing that I'm into. But if I ever was, I would like to hope that I could be better than you. It bothered me no more, so it's just like, stay away from it.
Right, so you're gonna, so basically stay to yourself and, don't get involved in everything. I mean, the other thing that people pointed out to me too is, the federal side is totally different than state. And then apparently the East Coast, and like the middle part of the country is totally different than California. I mean, do you find people? I know you had told me that the sex offenders had basically to themselves, and everybody pretty much self-segregated. I mean, you find that to be true in there, or?
Well, they sit at the same table at lunch and stuff, and they keep together in groups. So they span out and speak with other people, but they pretty much keep their own.
Right, that's as far as the sex offender. I mean, what about the actual? Like, do you notice any separation by by race or any of that?
A little bit, but it's not as bad here as it may be in other. So I think they're going to hang up on it.
They are. All right, Drew, thank you very much for everything. I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to talk to me. If you do need to get a hold of me, by all means, you can call me anytime. And I'm going to keep doing what I was telling you earlier. And I'm going to take care of everything else, too, with you. So this way you and I can square up as well.
Okay, if you want more conversation, let me know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Goodbye.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you for listening to 15 Minutes With. I hope you've enjoyed this edition. If you have enjoyed this edition of 15 Minutes With, please hit the like and the subscribe button. You can also help me keep this show going and watch it get better by donating to paypal.me/Joe Tomaso. That address again is paypal.me/JoeTomaso. 15 Minutes With is constantly looking for new content to upload and new people to interview. If you would like to share your story, or if there's someone you would like to see us interview, please email us at insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. That email address again is insidetherazorwire@gmail.com. Last but not least, again, if you like to support this channel, please subscribe and hit the like button. Until next time, we'll be seeing you